Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan here. Today, basically, we are going to discuss about the formula of word, basically. And in this, basically, previous session, we have told that we have asked a few questions. And in this session, basically, we are going to give the answer of this question, basically. First question is, what is education? Education, basically, we can say set of knowledges, basically, you can say that depends upon the which type of knowledge basically the person have and the person basically who is taking the knowledge basically. Uh, in this basically we will take few examples basically. In front of world basically science subject is there, right? From 10th to 12th basically, and then BSc comes like this basically. There are many R&D centers basically. That is also the that there basically lots of people do the working basically, you can say R&D working basically, who gets the job like this. Related to this education center basically, science education center, we will take one example. This basically example I have already taken, but here basically it's a question, so basically we have to give the answer. That is basically there are set of formulas in science, right? That science says that this formula, that formula. So basically in the books basically there are set of formulas which is given, right? But in that basically there is one formula which is not given, that is basically plus government formula. Plus government formula means whenever you are doing calculation of the formulas from the book and the formula which is given inside the book, there basically one formula, one one more plus is missing, or one more minus, or one more division is missing. That is basically of the government formula. So basically whenever you create the lab basically, that time basically you required a permission of government, that basically you are preparing the lab basically in the school. So for that preparing the lab basically, government sets their environment. Whenever you are doing the certain R&Ds of the students basically do the R&D, teacher says that do this R&D. That time basically student do the R&D. In that R&D basically always one formula is always we have to add one formula, that is basically government. And that government formula basically is added automatically basically. Here basically you don't have to do anything. Here the school don't have to do anything, nobody have to do anything. This gets automatically gets activated. So just to see up to the level of the security, up to the level of the lab security, up to the level of the lab environment which is set by the government. So just basically see up to what level the education level is. Now second example, this is basically the normal example. Now a little bit extraordinary example I will take. Lots of people says that moon is there, sun is there, but I am telling there is no like moon and sun basically. That's just a light effect basically of the far basically. The light is very basically you can't when you the light is very basically, you can say it's very far basically. So due to that effect basically, that effect is basically converted into sun and moon basically. So basically, you can say the eye effect. Basically, you can say eye effect basically, which the human basically see from the eye. When you see the sky, basically that time basically you look like a sun and moon basically, but it's not a sun and moon. It's just basically lights, the set of lights basically which gets effect of a sun and moon, and the shape look like the sun and moon basically. So there is no like sun and moon exist in this world. And book says that one astronomer has went to the moon also basically. So this is also one of the education part basically, you can say. In real basically this I have read it somewhere in the books basically, in one of the internet website. Like there is no like sun and like there is no like moon. This is just a effect of eye basically. And the set of lights gets effects, that is basically sun looks like a sun and moon basically. So this is also one of the education example basically, you can say. And then basically the another question was, what is sales basically? Sales means what? The biggest example of the sales is government do the subscription of the cities, states, and country basically. So India is one country. There basically central government do the sale of the cities, states, and country. That is basically subscription, and subscription are taken by the government basically. And subscription are taken by the central government, and central government gives the order to the World Bank, and World Bank says that yeah, we can give you this subscription on the base of your money paid basically. So that is basically simple example. Whatever money you are going to pay and whatever the services basically, sometime basically Indian government says that we can't pay the some money, we can give you the some set of services basically. So World Bank says that, yeah, that's okay, you can give the set of resources basically what we require basically. Then basically the brain are basically used. The Indian government sells the brains basically, you can say that we have this many resources, you can use this. So like this basically there are many ways basically, you can say, where basically the government says that like this basically sales are getting used. So one of the biggest example is subscription. Just now I have told the subscription says that World Bank has sold the subscription. On the behalf of that basically government has paid the certain money. And if government is telling that we can't pay the money, then basically government says that we can sell the services basically. The services basically that are human only. So basically Indian government tells that we have set of resources where there basically we can sell. So like this basically this is also one of the sales basically, you can say. And the biggest sale was basically the root of the sales is subscription only basically. The environment, on the base of environment, each and everything happens basically, you can say. Each and every buildings is standing basically. That's why basically you are able to do the commercial complex are standing at their place. That's why only basically you are doing the business na. Otherwise, how we will do business basically? If the building is for moving left side or right side, then basically how you will do the business? Because nobody will go inside the building only basically. So for that basically the base basically the government says that we are setting it. That is basically the environment which is setting basically, and the environment says that the building will not going to move left or not going to move right. According to that basically we have purchased the subscription by the World Bank, and World Bank is telling that we have given the subscription. And the proof basically that is called as a sabut. In Hindi basically you can say that sabut is basically the building is not falling right hand side and not falling left hand side. So that is the proof basically World Bank is selling. And you have taken this subscription. On the base of that subscription which basically you have paid the money to the World Bank, and on the base of that subscription basically you have taken sorry, on the base of the money which you have paid to the World Bank, on the base of that money or services basically you have paid, according to that basically we have sent you the data basically. That is basically the environment basically, you can say. That's why basically your buildings are standing at the straight position. So this is basically the biggest sale basically, you can say, the root sale basically of the entire India basically, you can say, which says that basically your buildings are standing, your commercial complex are standing, your each and every vehicles are standing at the same position, your each and every water lakes are at the straight position, stable position, trees are not moving right and left, each and everything is stable. You just have to do the business according to the environment set it. So that is basically the biggest sale and the root of the sale, which government says that we have set it according to the subscription plan. Basically, we have taken, and we have taken the subscription plan according to the money you have paid long before to the cities government, states governments, and the central government. Like this, according to we have paid the money to the central according to behavior of yours, according to behaviors of the city businessmen, state businessmen, and the country businessman. We have taken the money from you. You have given the money. According to that, basically, we have just given you one services. Basically, that is basically you can say the stable city, stable state, stable country. So this is basically the biggest sale. Basically, you can say. And then basically the question was basically you can say what is software industry? Software industry. What is software industry? One person asked basically, what is software industry, sir? Guruji, what is software industry? Then basically one person asked, that is very normal question basically. Software industry means whatever the system basically is designed by the system designers, project managers, project directors. That is basically software where basically in the environment basically when you where you create the things basically, that is software industry. That is basically software companies basically, you can say. Then basically this was the normal definition basically he told. But in real basically what actually the software industry? What is softwares basically? and what is basically exactly what actually why basically software industry came into picture basically. So basically the here the answer is basically the main reason behind this is, one reason is basically that it's computerized basically. Entire system is computerized, entire thing is getting very fast, and each and every thing is very working very smoothly basically. That is the main basically. But here the other than that basically the software industry says that the one story I will tell you. According to that, basically everything will be clear. The story says that we are using the natural resources, that is petrol, oil, vegetables, and oils and petrols. Basically, that all are basically natural, right? So natural, say natural items basically. So that basically comes from the nature basically. But one person told that our nature items all are going to be over one day basically, going to be finished very one day basically. So for that basically the government for the set of groups basically that are basically few researcher basically to they told that we have to find some alternative of this natural resources. So basically the alternative was the software industry basically. They basically says that we are going to use a software industry. On the basis of software industry software data basically we are going to do the process in the energy companies and the power companies and the nuclear power companies and nuclear energy companies. And according to the energy which is processed basically, that whatever data basically is getting processed according to the place, according to the physical locations of the human, of the particular stay where basically they are staying, and each and every locations where they are staying, according to that basically we are doing the setup process, and then basically we are generating the human needs basically. So for that basically also lots of process are doing in that particular place. For example, there is one text box that is equal to thousand cities. So that thousand cities are created basically. Thousand cities are created, and that thousand cities are going to, that thousand cities are equal to text box. So whenever the text box data is going to be processed, so basically everything is categorized basically you can say. Categorized basically you can say. So whenever the text box data is going to process, that is basically that city is going to process, and that cities are basically thousand cities, and the thousand cities are going to generate basically the human needs. So the researcher, the developer basically of the text box, they told that the text box is going to generate oil, vegetables, petrols, and fruits basically. So the four items basically they are going to provide. So that basically human needs. Like this basically there are many controls created, that is basically combo box, check boxes are there, radio buttons are there, then the buttons are there, then the forms are there. For that basically also many places are created for the physical places basically you can say. For basically the set of process has to happen from the power companies and from the nuclear companies, and but data is required basically. Here basically main role is of data science project basically you can say, where the exact data of the each and every location, each and every person basically, each and every cities, each and every states gets according to the data, and according to the data basically the sets of correct process happens basically you can say. So like this basically the software industry basically is the alternative of the natural resources, that you can say. Then the basically what is user control? This was also the question. That is basically fourth number question. The user control basically you can say just now we have seen, that is basically text box equal to thousand cities. So what is text box? That we have already seen. The thousand cities, that also we have already seen. In front of world basically text box. What is the role of text box? Text box role is only one. You have to enter the data. That's all. Whatever type you are, whatever things you are going to type, that is basically user data basically. So we are stopping here basically, and this is basically the 80 number part of the formula word. In 81 we are going to finish the rest of questions and answers basically.